It's UPBOptionMillionaires.com on this Thursday, August 20, 2015. S&P 500 futures are down. Look at this move we've had overnight into the lows just after the European markets open for trade. Getting a little bit of a bounce here. You can look at the action yesterday. My goodness, we started the day lower, much like we did last Wednesday, and then had this huge spike up after the Fed minutes to 210 on the SPY before pulling back. We had a rally just like this last Wednesday. The only difference this time around, we collapsed. And another collapse into the close, starting to roll over here. Certainly does not look bullish here for the short-term perspective in the market. If you want to look, though, there are some trend lines that still remain to be broken. We are not below yesterday's low, last Wednesday's low on the S&P 500. That's something to keep in mind. And also, if you draw a trend line across, we remain above support. But if we break below that, we could see significant weakness back to February and January lows. Also, crude oil not helping things. I've been talking about this for quite a while. Everybody was so quick to call a bottom back in March. We've now plunged below those lows. And if you look at 20-year chart perspective here, draw the trend line. Support has clearly been broken. We could see continued downside. And if you look, financial crisis in 2008, before that came to a head, we had crude oil crashing. Well, guess what? We have crude oil crashing again. So something to keep an eye on. You know, I've been trading it via XLE, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I want to show you something. Intel, I've talked about this in May. The breakdown here, beautiful head and shoulders topping pattern at 34. We got some July puts. Those worked out great. And it looks like we have another leg to the downside here, some sort of a bear flag forming. So Intel, watch this for down to the $26 level and ultimately down to the $21 level. That brings us back to 2013 lows. XLE, yes, everybody's talking about, just like crude oil. This had bottomed. Well, here we are, pre-market. We're below the 52-week low here for XLE. Has not bottomed. And I think, if you look from a long-term perspective, that we're going to see continued weakness. If you look at the recent action here, certainly looks like a bear flag to me. We're breaking down out of it. I think 60 is the first stop. Got some 68.50 puts on Monday. Did not look good right out of the gate. We had a little bit of a bounce. But yesterday's action kind of vindicated the patience in staying into a trade. IWM breaking down. This is also something to watch. You can see the 120 level also putting in lower highs. So you see we broke under the 120 level. This is putting in a move down to 115 here in the short term. Also, look at QQQ, which is breaking down under the 110 level here pre-market, that support. And we've got some air here down at about the 107.50 level. S&P 500 ETF, the spiders, which briefly broke. Look at this action yesterday. Got up to the 210 level before pulling back. We're below that 208 support level that I was talking about a couple weeks ago that we've come up to. And looks bearish for a move down at about the 203.50 level. So we'll see if we can get down to that. But if you look from a long-term perspective here this year, been consolidation. Look at the consolidation here. Not too high and not too low. Are we finally going to see that breakdown? You know, this morning pre-market action is telling you, yeah, we could see a nice little breakdown. But look, just even right now, look at this little bounce here we're seeing in S&P 500 futures. And so if you sit there and you're like, oh, here we are bearish, but look, we get the spikes to the upside, just like we did yesterday. We hit our lows and we started to come back, and here you are, just a stone's throw away from record highs. We collapse. So you look at S&P 500 futures, certainly the bid remains there, and even if it's just the corporations themselves buying stock or Chinese wealth funds, China is basically buying their entire stock market. That's bullish for stocks, I guess, until at some point in time, when everyone realizes the manipulation that's going on. Let's look at some other charts here this morning. IBB, and I just brought up that Intel head and shoulders pattern. Look at the head and shoulders pattern here for biotech. We have a left shoulder, a right shoulder, a nice head here where it's the neckline. And if we break below 360 today, I think that's going to bring about 335 into focus, would be the previous low in May. A spike lower, and you can see started out with a move to the downside, and that's what we started to get yesterday. I think we're going to get down to 335 level. If this breaks here at 360, one of the components of the biotech index actually bought the female Viagra drug company. I don't know, that was the big news yesterday. This morning, Vertex bought them. And actually, the reaction is to the downside for the stock, which is pretty odd because acquisitions these days have been lifting everything. The company that buys it and the company that's being acquired. Another head and shoulders pattern I talked about for many years has really come to fruition. FCX broken to single digits Look at this beautiful pattern. Break to the downside. Everybody, there's a great buy here. There's a great buy. Yeah, FCX, and I talked about this even before the year started, as the next CLF. And we're getting there. CLF, you can look at CLF. My goodness, had some bounces along the way, certainly. But you can see it's down into penny stock status. All right, UPBOptionMillionaires.com. I'll see you in the chat room. We're setting up for another interesting trading session. Look at these spike. We're getting off the lows here. We're down almost 0.75% on S&P 500 futures. Heck, we might bounce all the way into positive territory. Get it up to 210 again. This wild marketplace that we currently trade 2015. If we've learned anything, prices are gyrating around. At some point, they're going to make a big break. It's been almost 9 months, so we're going to give birth to a big move here into the fall. UPBOptionMillionaires.com. Goodbye.